Jumpstart with Jeff.
All right, welcome back to Dentistry on Fire. I am super excited today. I have one of my great friends, Donald Burns, who, gosh, I've known now for at least 3 years. And Donald has been in the restaurant world, everything probably from a dishwasher up to an elite chef at some of the highest levels. And then also probably one of what I would consider, or what many consider to be, one of the most top of the line coaches inside of the restaurant space. He is the restaurant coach. So I'm super excited to interview him today. You're going to see, especially in the dental industry, how many correlations there is actually between dentistry and restaurant owners and ownership. And that's probably one of the things that drew me to Donald when we first started having our conversations. We were in a high-level mastermind together, and I was just like, wow, there is so much alignment between the restaurant industry and the dental industry. So today, sit back and relax, enjoy today's episode. You're going to find a lot of value here and a little bit of humor, but a little bit of fun at the same time, as well as some things that you can take and put into play immediately inside of your practice, as well as inside of your world. So Donald, welcome, man. I'm super glad to have you here.
I am so stoked, Jeff. I mean, again, when we connected years ago and that mastermind group, again, we both kind of had that like, oh, you're a dentist. Oh, you're in a restaurant. So I'm like, hey, there's a lot of crossover between restaurant owners and dentists. Talk about like a high stress industry. I mean, talk about like a huge industry that's drawn towards like addictive patterns to basically suppress our pain and basically just kind of like just get through it. You know, we're all taught that hustle culture. Totally. Just, push through it. But man, there's just some things you can't push through. Yeah. Make more money, baby. Make money. That's like, we always think that's going to solve everything, right?
It's exactly.
Yeah, more money is going to solve. No. Just makes your problems bigger is all it is. I get this with restaurants all the time. They think more sales will fix their problems. And I tell all my restaurant owners this is like, sales hides sins.
Yes.
And if you can't operate at the level you're at, I mean, more sales, a bigger revenue is not going to increase, especially if you have like you're dealing, just makes your stress bigger, makes your anxiety bigger. It's crazy.
Well, if you guys can't tell already, Donald is a straight shooter and he tells it like it is. So, I was just going to say, Donald, are you the coach who tells owners the truth after they're already broke or before, right?
Yeah. Well, I write a lot of books, and my very first book was called Your Restaurant Sucks.
Yes.
And it came from a conversation I had with a client. I was at his place. It was in Louisiana. He was a big guy, former like LSU football player, big, huge guy, like probably 6'7", 6'8", probably 280. I mean, big guy. And we're sitting at a table. We're sitting at a four top. He's sitting across the table from me, and he's just venting. My cooks suck. My bartenders suck. My servers suck. My managers suck. Everybody sucks. My guests suck. This town sucks. And I don't know why I said it. It just came out. I'm just sitting there calm and cool, and I said, if your restaurant sucks, it's because you suck running it.
Yeah. And
then he like grabbed a hold of the table. He started like coming up over the table, and I thought, oh, here it comes. He's gonna punch me. I was like, all right, Donald, you said it. Just take it. You said it. Might as well just take your licks, right? I sat there and I tightened my jaw up, and he got about halfway up over the table. He let out a deep sigh, and he sat back down in the chair, and he goes, you're right. Yeah. This is all my fault. And I was like. At first, I was like, okay. You didn't. And then I was like, okay. Of course, you played all cool. You're like, all right, man. Now let's get to work.
Yes.
Right? And sure enough, we did. It was that turning point right there. There's a turning point in everyone's life where you realize what I'm doing is not working, and I need to do something else.
Yes.
And that was his turning point right there. And sometimes you just, sometimes you have to have a coach like you, just to call him and say, hey, man, if your practice sucks, it's because you suck running it. And then sometimes it's like, that's the hardest thing to realize. And when you own it and you admit it, now you can actually start moving in the right direction. And that's what he did.
100% correct, Donald. I think that.
Join the Limitless 90-day intensive to get 25 plus years of proven real life results, all distilled into an unmatched experience that helps you create limitless power in 12 weeks or less, so you can ultimately take your practice, marriage, and life beyond the next level quickly. Save yourself decades of guesswork and painful mistakes. Apply now at www.limitlessdentistacademy.com.
your business is a complete reflection of you. So if it's moving in the right direction, great. You're moving in the right direction. If it's stuck, it's because you're stuck. If it sucks, it's because you suck. So there's so much, connection with that. And I want to jump into like, listen, you didn't just wake up one day as the restaurant coach. There was probably a lot of messy middle. And that's what it's like for us too inside of dentistry. It's not like you just wake up and all of a sudden you have this elite skill set and you're doing top of the line, incredible techniques and skills that you're providing for our patients, delivering outstanding care. There's a lot of mess in the middle of that to get to there. Talk a little bit about what was that like when you were in the trenches? And so give the listeners an idea of kind of where you started and kind of all your story, just going through there.
So I grew up in the restaurant business. My dad was a chef. It was a pretty accomplished chef, pretty famous chef back in the 70s. And I, like a lot of people who start out in the restaurant business, I started off as a dishwasher working for him. And then I worked my way up to prep. And then, after you do prep, you start working up to what they call the hotline, and I start working up the different, stations in the hotline. And I'd make it up to like being sous chef or like assistant chef. And I'd do something to piss my dad off and I'd be back, doing prep again. And then when I was 18, I'll never forget 18, he told me it was in my blood. And I said, I want a transfusion with this. I do not want to do this. I was like, no way. So, and my dad was that, he was that old school yell, scream, break you down, build you up kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't really, it never really inspired me. I was scared. I actually, it was basically a fear-based leadership style. And so when I was 18, I was like, I don't want to do this. So I went off into the military and I signed up for the Air Force. I signed up for, actually I had I took those tests they take and I got selected to go into language school. I was actually supposed to go into Russian language school. I thought that's going to be cool. And then amazing thing happened. I'm at basic training in Lackland, Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas. This guy comes in wearing this maroon beret. He shows it. This is the 80s, right? Shows this film of these guys like doing free fall skydiving, rappelling out of helicopters, mountain search and rescue, combat search and rescue, scuba diving. I'm like, that looks a little more fun. And he said, it's a special operations team. It's called pararescue. It's the elite of the elite for the Air Force. It has a high washout rate. It's like the Navy SEALs of the Air Force, but we're going to teach you how to be a combat medic too. He says, if you want to try out, you can try out for a team to make the selection team. So I did. I tried out and I got selected to be on the team. Now, then I had a decision. Do I give up my guaranteed job as language school and then try out for pararescue, with knowing that if I failed out of pararescue, the Air Force could put me in any job they wanted to. I could have been a garbage collector, right? Or whatever. I could have been anything. It doesn't matter. They call it the needs of the Air Force. So I was like, all right, but I'm going to go all in. And we started like around 85, 86 guys in the selection team. And that first 8 weeks, I would say probably 90% weeded themselves out, just because it's very, very mentally, physically intense. Yes. A lot of stuff that you see, like these guys doing this. They call it water confidence. I call it water harassment drills. It's like they tie your hands behind your back, throw you in a pool, and tell you to bob up and down. Or tread water for 5 minutes with a brick over your head, it's crazy stuff. And then a year and a half, almost like 2 years later, there was only 11 of us graduated from the original 86 that started with the team. And so I was in the Air Force for 4 years. I did my time as pararescue. I got to see a great amount of Europe. And then, like everybody else, I got out of the military. I took the money I had from the military and the VA stuff I had, the GI Bill. And I went to college in Miami. And then another crazy thing happened is that I could get jobs in restaurants because I had experience from high school working with my dad. And I found out I love the restaurant business. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to, like, I had a degree in marketing, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to like really work with restaurants. So I started working at the right restaurants, started working with the right chefs, went to Santa Fe, started training with some pretty famous, well-known chefs like Mark Miller, Eric DiStefano, these famous chefs in Santa Fe. And luckily, all in my 20s, I just learned, grew, and developed. At 30, I had the opportunity to open my very first restaurant. Now, here's where a lot of like people like in your business go sideways. You get the knowledge, you get the skills, you get the hard skills, and you think you're ready to open up your own practice. You're open your own restaurant. So I did. And I quickly learned that I knew how to run a restaurant. It's like you guys, like you know how to do dentistry.
Right.
You know how to do like some really cool high-end stuff, some really advanced techniques, some really, I mean, amazing stuff. But then you realize I didn't know how to build a business.
True. Very true.
And I went sideways. And like a lot of people, I just thought I could outwork the problem. So like my very first restaurant, I struggled. I mean, it was not, I mean, I thought I kind of call it the field of dreams mindset. If you build it, they will come.
Oh, believe me, that's very prominent.
Same thing. Like over my practice, you hang your shingle up. Hey, Dr. Jeff,
exactly
right? Hey, I'm going to be flooded. People are going to be lined out the door wanting to come and see me. Right. It doesn't happen like that, right? There's marketing. There's all kinds of things. There's hiring. Now I got to have I got to coach a team. I got to work with. I have to manage people. Yeah. I have to lead people. It became like something I didn't understand. So, like a lot of people, I just thought I could outwork the problem. So I'd work harder. Meanwhile, the stress built up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my eating went to shit. I started eating crap all the time or eating late. Yes. And then of course, anxiety, the stress, the depression starts building. How do you suppress that stuff? Oh, after work, man, I have a drink to kind of take the edge off. That turned into 2 drinks. That turned into 3 drinks. Yes. That turned into 4 drinks. And then it was like, oh, now I'm all, now I need to get some sleep. How do I get some sleep? Oh, and then, hey, why don't you take a pill? Like, everyone likes, just take some Ambien. Okay, I'll take some Ambien. And then I'm waking up, I'm like half asleep. Oh, I got to get to a restaurant. I got to get there early. All right, how do I wake up? Oh, we got another pills for that. It's called Adderall, right? So I was on this vicious cycle of drinking, eating, roller coaster of and I just couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
And I was very, very lucky that one of the local businessmen who was a regular at my place, he came up to the restaurant. He came in the restaurant one night, and it was a Thursday. I remember it was a Thursday night. It was slow. It was dead as hell. I had an open kitchen, which means he walked right up to the kitchen, and I was sitting there cooking. I'm working, right? He goes, "Hey, man, you got a minute? I'd love to talk to you." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." His name was Peter. Sat down at the table, and Peter goes to me and goes, "Hey, man, I'm really worried about you." Of course, you try to play it cool when someone tries to give you like, "Oh, what are you worried about?" He looks around and he goes, I'm worried you're not going to be open in 6 months. And there's like one table, right? Yeah. And of course, you try to play it. We're just a little under the radar. And now you got to understand, I'm 8 months into being open.
Right.
And he says and I'm using the excuses that I'm just a little under the radar. And he says something I'll never forget. He goes, "Donald, you'd never want to be under the radar as a restaurant." No, I was like, knife twist, knife twist in the heart. I'm like, right. And he says, "I'll tell you exactly where you're going wrong." He said, "If I gave you a 3-digit lock," and I said, "Open a lock, could you open a lock?" I said, "No, of course not." He goes, "What if I gave you the combination to the lock?" I said, "That would be great." And he took out a napkin. I have this napkin to my day. It's in my other office. There was a Bev napkin on the table. He took a pen out of his pocket and he wrote down 3 words. He wrote down people, product, process. He says, "This is the combination." And he says, the reason that you're not successful is you don't have the combination in the right order. It's like if I gave you a combination lock and I said, "Jeff, the combination is 3, 2, 1. And you keep putting in 1, 2, 3. You got the numbers right, but you got them in the wrong order. And you're like, "Donald, it does not work." And I'm like, "Jeff, look at the combination. You got the combination wrong." So I did like a lot of restaurant owners did. I put product first.
Right.
And then I started working, and then I started looking, you know what? I need some checklists. I probably needed some recipe cards. And then I go back to the people part. Yeah. I need to hire people. I need to train them a little bit better. He said, no. He goes, people, then product, and then process. That's the combination. Same thing with any business. If you don't have the people part right, the product part doesn't matter. The process part doesn't matter. Because you know how it is. Like you give your team checklist, things to do, right? Absolutely. And a lot of times they don't do them. And you're like, why don't they get it? I went through this with them. It's the people part. It's the culture piece. The culture. They haven't bought into the culture. They don't know why it's important. You haven't preached why your core values are the way we live and guide ourselves.
Yeah.
Core values, I'll tell you right now, and anybody listening to this podcast, if you have not kind of written down, really actually written down your core values and put them on some kind of card that you can share with the team, and you don't preach every day your core values, you are missing the biggest opportunity you have in your restaurant.
Donald,
because culture flows down.
I've got a card that we've got our vision, our mission statement, and our core values. And we read it, and I'll have other team members read it in our morning huddles. Yep. And then also before our monthly big meeting with everybody. And then myself and our other doc in the practice, we do a bi-weekly morning meeting every other Thursday, for an hour and a half. As well as our office manager, she's there as well. And guess what? We start off that meeting with reading the mission, vision, and core values, not because we can't remember it, because it matters. And it's a reminder that sets the tone, that sets the pace, exactly what you're talking about.
And that 3P framework also, I always say it's a good process map.
Yes.
But it's also an organizational and prioritization tool as well. What do I mean by that? So like you're running a meeting. A lot of people start off with like, what's happening, right? They talk about like, hey, we got some new stuff coming in. We got these people coming in, VIPs. We talk about the product or the process.
Right.
I always say that 3P framework is how you live your each day. This is how you lead your restaurant. It's how you lead your practice. Same thing. Like meetings should start off with people.
True.
Always talk about people. Then we move into maybe some new products, what we got going on for marketing, what we got as far as, things we're trying to get new business in. And then we talk about the process, the systems, the strategy, how we're going to make sure we're getting everybody in line and doing the things that they need to do to keep the standards where they need to be. That 3P framework is so critical.
Let me interrupt you here for a second, because this is so great. And this is such a valued bomb. So we can make this tangible for the listeners. Like, how would you start off a meeting with people? I mean, I know that's very, hey, this is rudimentary, but let's give somebody a tangible opportunity to get a better understanding of this.
Yeah. So always start with core values. We always connect ourselves. It's like reading the Bible. Like you always got to get centered every day. And you and I are very big about that, right? So first thing I do is I get everyone centered. What's our center for any kind of organization, any kind of business is our core values, our mission, our core values, vision. I call it the triad.
Yes.
Your mission, your core values, your vision, why we do what we do is so critical. So we always get centered and focused and grounded on that.
Beautiful.
And then I like to give appreciation.
Yes.
Probably the biggest thing in our business and any business is, and people don't leave any kind of business because usually a lot of times they say it's more money. More times than not, they just don't feel appreciated. They don't feel seen. They don't feel acknowledged.
Correct.
So we always got to connect with and give people praise. And the two most powerful words in the English language are thank you.
Yes.
And yet we don't use them enough.
Yes.
We don't, and I'll ask restaurant owners this all the time. I'll say, and I'll go to somebody's restaurant and I'll ask the team, how many times during the week has the owner or the leader said thank you to you? And like a group of 20, 2 hands go up. I'm like, wow, that's really sad. So I make it a standard. All my members, my coaching members, they have to do what I call 100% thank yous. And I started this at my own restaurant. I never left the restaurant without walking up to everyone on the team, looking them in the eye, shaking their hand, saying thank you, and giving them a compliment about something I saw that they did today. Give them recognition. Like, hey, man, I go back to the dish tank. Like, hey, dude, man, you just rocked. We were slammed, and you stayed on top of it. And I just want to say thank you so much. Number one, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the hard work you did. Then I walk up and say, hey, that table was really rude. You handled it with grace, with poise, very, very professional. I want to say thank you for that. And I would give something very, very specific to each person on the team that what they did. And they know that I'm watching, I'm noticing, and I'm giving compliments on it. So that's how we always start that's always, you never leave your practice. I always say right now, if you want to start a practice right away, never leave your practice without walking up to everyone on your team, looking them in the eye, shaking their hand, saying thank you, and give them a sincere compliment about something that you saw them do today.
That is such a golden nugget. Here's something interesting too. Like my youngest son, Maddox, he's 15, and he plays one of the sports that he plays is lacrosse. And one of the things that I noticed several years ago at his school, they'd have a great practice, and then they would get together in the middle as a whole team, and they would literally spend probably like the last 10 minutes of practice doing shout outs. And it was so great where one team member would say, I'd like to give a shout out to so-and-so and recognize his effort or recognize this. And I was like, what a great lesson to teach these young men. And why don't we do that as business owners, as practice owners, as restaurant owners? It's like we forget how great that feels to have somebody else acknowledge you for the effort that you put forth that day. And it is as simple as just a little bit of recognition and just, you're right. Thank you. And it's like, they notice the hard work, and it makes it worth it, it starts to create a culture that they're like, this is why I'm here, and that plays into the fact of like, look, I think one of the greatest compliments that we hear a lot, luckily inside of our practice from our clients is listen, the reason let me back up. I knew you were going to be more expensive is one of the first things they say. Second thing, but the reason that I chose to come here is because you guys make me feel like family. And my team has a genuine interest in them. Everybody has their story and they listen and I listen and we find out more about them and like where it is that they want to go, why it's important, how it's impacting their life, who else it's impacting, and what it's going to do for them. All of those things become such an important part where by the end of just even that first initial conversation, they're like, wow, this is way more than just about my teeth. And you're like, yeah, this is like something, and I'm not talking about for like a filling. I'm talking about for bigger things that can actually alter the course of somebody's life. Right.
Yeah.
And it's inside of there that like, I am so proud of our team, but it comes back to exactly what you're talking about. When they have the opportunity to receive compliments from the owner and the doctors and everything in the practice, it becomes so much easier for them to be present, to be able to be a great listener and listen for those things inside of there and to create amazing experiences for our clients.
Exactly. And if anyone's having trouble like with that simple like appreciation drill, here's an easy kind of game to play with yourself. I call it the penny game. Take 5 pennies, put them in your left pocket when you start your day. And then your goal is every time you make a sincere compliment to someone, you transfer 1 penny from your left pocket to your right pocket. And the goal is by the end of the day, have all 5 pennies in your right pocket.
Oh, I love it, man. So simple.
Super easy.
So simple.
It's so simple, but it makes a little game. It makes it gamified for you.
I love that.
And here's another thing I will say about dentistry too, in general. For years, I was scared to death of the dentist. And I have to say that, again, there's a lot of crossover between dentistry and restaurants. Restaurant industry has a horrible stereotype. Like, and I tell like when restaurant owners are like, well, I just can't find good people. Well, it's not you can't find good people or because we have this horrible stereotype. Like, I'm going to work you really hard. You're not going to, you eat maybe over a trash can if you get to eat. I'm going to pay you dirt. You're never going to see your family. Your goldfish is probably going to die, right? So they have to overcome a lot of stereotypes in this industry. Same thing with dentistry. Yes. Dentistry is like, it's all about, it's going to cause you pain. Yes. It's uncomfortable. It's miserable. They're very cold. They're like all doctors. They're very cold people. One of the things I will tell you is that like cosmetic dentistry, like my teeth, I was so ashamed of my smile for years and years. And the reason I went to the dentist I went to is because, again, he made me feel comfortable. He made me feel seen. He understood my anxiety and he talked me through it. So I didn't feel like that pressure and I didn't feel it was great. And I'll tell you, it was the greatest gift I ever gave myself was to invest in myself to get my teeth fixed. Cause I'll tell you, it changed it changed my total confidence level, changed how I speak. It changed how I present myself. And it amplified everything in my life. So
that's awesome.
I'll tell you right now, reach out more and tell people who you are, because that's what I'm buying.
That's big.
I know this is the result, right? But you are the person who's going to get me that result, and I need to buy you.
Yes, and you need to know that as a doctor or as a dentist, that we get you. We understand you. We understand the anxiety. We understand also, hey, the confidence that's costing. We understand that not only the confidence, but we are also understanding the adventures or the fun that it's also costing you because you're not participating fully out in life like you want to be. So thank you for saying that.
It's a huge game changer, man.
I want to jump back to one thing because this is very relevant. And there was a point, like, let's be honest, there was a point like inside of you running a restaurant, whether it be as an owner or as the chef, the chief chef or the top level chef, you might have been owning and doing that both. But like, where were you at where if this keeps going, the business is going to cost me maybe my marriage, my health, and my soul. because that moment, and you touched on this earlier, it usually hits around 2 a.m. after the third whiskey, and you're looking at payroll.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I call it the 2 a.m. sweats.
Yeah, exactly right.
You wake up, it's like it's a Friday night. You wake up at 2 a.m. and you have this like huge anxiety, like almost a panic attack. Like, oh no, payroll's due. Oh no, sales taxes due. Oh no, I gave my vendor a big check. Yeah. And then you say, I hope it's busy this weekend, or for you, it could be, I hope it's busy next week to pay for all this stuff.
Right. And a lot of dentists have the same type of feeling. It's very true.
I think any business owner kind of gets that anxiety, especially if you don't have someone to help you understand that money side.
True.
Thanks for listening to the show. If this podcast episode resonated with you, make sure to reach out and send me a direct message on Instagram at Dr. Jeff Buski. That's dr.jeffbuske. Look forward to chatting with you. Till next time.